Alright, what's up, Aquarius? Here's your March message for the year 2026. Present. Damn, here's a challenge. Present energy right here. All right. Challenge. Detail number one. Detail number one. Detail number two. It's affecting you. Except for Capricorn. Well, here's how people see you. I was saying for Capricorn how their message was like, it's like learning the language of the self. Not needing to break it down to your first language or your first memories, and not needing it to be all the way understood and made sense of. Just letting it be surface. It's funny, I came from all this depth and I'm finally letting it be surface level. Finally. I do it all this depth and I can finally let it be surface level. Let it be light. And when I say let it be surface level, looks like letting it be surface level means letting it not be clear, letting it not have all these connections to your current self and understandings that mean something about your current self. And it doesn't have to mess with your foundation. There's simple ways to say this, yes. Let it be, right? But somehow people who know all these simple words and simple sayings and phrases, simple quotes, still get affected by it. So then, only thing that's affected is their self-esteem. So what it really means is, all they're thinking about is what they're not getting. All they're looking at is what they want. That's all they see, what they want. The problem is, they don't see themselves, you don't see yourself. It's hard to say, hold on, because it's like you don't need to realize, you don't need to understand it's dysfunctional. Like, you don't have these words to know This is your new language. How do you know it's dysfunctional? How do you know it doesn't work? How do you know you're not helpful? How do you know you're dysfunctional? So it's like, this really is a challenge. Some way, some level, you assume you being detached, or this is what you truly believe is the challenge. This is you still combating yourself, still being at conflict with yourself, not believing this is a necessary way to be about yourself. Or getting to the depths, or getting to the meat and bones of these energies. Then, of course, the Ace of Swords and this Sun card is Leo. It is across from you, so that is a helpful, helpful qualities you should embody. So being a self, and I'm happy my readings come to this conclusion. And then the Moon was clarifying the problem. I think Capricorn actually had this same exact best outcome card. I think it might have been Sagittarius, possibly. And that's funny. This is right underneath this card. Might have been Sagittarius. I think so. Anyway. I'm not saying nothing unheard of. I'm pretty sure people have came to this conclusion without tarot. You know, just through living life and paying attention to themselves. But the beautiful thing about this reading, Aquarius, is because we have been, irritating ourselves and scratching our itch, which might be us irritating ourselves when we think we're scratching an itch. We're just really irritating ourselves, believing these things about ourselves, beating up ourselves. So it's like, you don't need to, the problem is you assume you really are flawed. You really assume, when it's just conditions hadn't made themselves known, what the conditions haven't proved themselves to be important. This is also a level, it's like a level of yourself you need to know works. But you can't fully understand that until you fully accept yourself. So we say our generation is really fake acceptance. Everyone says all this, let your freak flag fly, but yeah, okay. But it's good. It's good. All this shit we say. And pressures are there, There's no pressures are there with all this lightheartedness we have. So, But the only answer is to be in this level. Be in your level. You can't have awareness that it's dysfunctional, that it's not creating equilibrium. You can't have awareness that it isn't creating harmony. How do you know that? Because now our limited self is telling us we are limited, and we're actually on a trajectory somewhere. But you have to have a good view of yourself. It's kind of leaned in a little bit weird. That's kind of, trying to fit into the camera. Forgive me, Aquarius, because I know it makes sense. This is your challenge. So then, what would help you pass this test or ace the month of March, in this year 2026, accept that your self-esteem is low right now because new situation, new arena, you're adjusting still. So you're just adjusting still. And having your sense of self, your acceptance of self, the Sun card. The Knight of Wands came out, so it's like what you want, the passions what you still have passion for, feelings for, what gives you excitement, things you want to check up on, they should still be there. Just don't feel so negative about yourself. Just they're still there. The energy, the emotion is still there to make happen, to capitalize. But what would break it all is you just only believing you can't do it. So keep your emotions, keep them there. Then fine. The challenge could be other people who aren't on board with this. Because think about it. If you have such a clear view of yourself, it should be a rite of passage to face people who are so, not aware of you, right? So you don't want to make it about being against, Once you know this is out there, you let it be what it is. I've experienced some of this, this month. I'm glad I didn't upload all the videos yet. It gives you a chance to go through the month, with your own lenses, as is, right? Things I wanted to let worry me, I didn't. People say certain things, they say certain words. I don't let it worry me too much. I just, all right, it's what it is. I'm not gonna let it be more than what it is. It's something that happened. So the challenge, fine. Accept that we all can have low self-esteem, and somehow accept, how people will compensate for that. I wish I was on this level growing up. I didn't. I just thought they were tripping. I didn't factor in they have self-esteem like me. I just thought they were tripping. Still another layer of learning this language called ourselves, like another language. That's it, Aquarius. Key words was you can't know you're unbalanced. You can't be aware you're not unbalanced. You're just not fully, in equilibrium with this thing, which it needs time. So maybe the challenge is accepting this, And what would only help you accept this is having a sense of self so clear, this is what it is, You're the sun, they're the plant that's going to have to, deal with, start facing the sun. You're going to be who you are. And that's beautiful. You need that test. Are you going to apologize for existing? You can't apologize for existing. These cards came up again. Obsessive. This is when you are worrying obsessively. Is your emotions obsessing about something? Yeah. Obsessing about my space in a place. Obsessing about me remaining somewhere. They're saying things that mean I might not be here long. Well, great. That's my test. I can't worry about that. I just have to find out, that was my last day. Okay, well, it was. Fuck it. That can't hold me back anymore. Fine, they're saying shit that indicates I might not be around them anymore. Which would make me believe I am unbalanced. Somehow I have to not worry about that. Sense of self has to be so strong. Just accept it, There you go. There's still passion here. There's still energy here. And the key that would help you understand this. Now, the best outcome was I think it's better if I show you the card rather than say it. Better if you see it. This is what I said. There's still passion here, still energy here, still a reason here. And if you can find a way to stick to that feeling rather than what's said or what's the good feeling, right? The feeling that means closeness, warmth, and connection, effort, progress. Stick to that without having awareness of it being dysfunctional or imbalanced. But the question would be, what details are making you believe it's unbalanced? What makes you believe? I've expressed mine, when people start saying shit, which could be them just expressing their insecurity, maybe they feel threatened by your presence, your help, so they say something to throw you off, which new level. I said this for Capricorn's video, and the devil kept coming up. To see it as just like a language, I mentioned how I'm just now understanding simple sentences, catching up simple words. And I'm appreciating that and leaving it at that. Appreciating the progress for understanding. I've been able to observe this and understand this. I'm happy for that. I don't need to analyze anymore. Whatever I've observed is good enough. So whatever information I took in about that was good enough, right? So take in their surface level hate and then keep it there, though. So I've taken in that person's, phrase he said, statement they made. I'm going to keep it at that, fuck it. At this point, all we're doing, being clear, staying aware of the conversations, just keep paying attention, okay. But I'm not going to make it mean something about my character, though. I'm keeping myself like a language. Understanding of myself is a new language that I don't need to be so deep about. I have all these Scorpio placements, but this, not being so deep about it, is an exercise I have to have now. It's weird. But this is your message, Aquarius. Is this present energy representing of relationship, or is that the key? Relationship is a language that has to be clearly aware but can't be. But then with the movies, people getting set up, betrayed, double-crossed, you got to pay attention to these things. You have to know when they're happening, right? You just let it go. You're just letting yourself, be attacked without looking, or, life is tricky like that, Dare to leave yourself vulnerable and not worry about being attacked. How real are you? How real are we right now? Dare to let them make comments and not worrying about what they say making sense, I do this for so long, but it stops because I get to the point to where it makes sense. So before I get off the camera, Aquarius, the key point was not knowing it's unbalanced or that it's dysfunctional, not having awareness, allowing it to not be aware yourself. Don't allow yourself to be aware that something's unbalanced, dysfunctional, or not growing properly. That's the problem. So if this month things will happen and be said that will make you question yourself, then you need a greater sense of self, which is why the sun came out representing Leo. Because the reality of it is, whatever you're clear about, if it's just coming from people with low self-esteem. Damn, now these cards. There we go. That's the challenge. So now you gotta let that be what it is, because your sense of self is stronger than their, lack of self-belief. Or, lack of rapport, lack of time, enough time, them being, acquainted to yourself, who you are, your personality, your chemicals. Now they're able to take in your reactions to who you are. Okay, I think I've said what I need to say. Later, Aquarius.